Hello, my name is Attorney Masa Sam Foray, and I am founder of the Foray firm with offices in Chicago and in Houston, Texas. And I am back again today to answer all of your Illinois family law matters. So today's question is, how much will my divorce cost? Folks, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I always pride myself on being open and honest and frank. And so the fact is, the divorce that you're going through, if that is what your situation is probably going to be one of the most expensive involuntary activities that you will ever engage in. So not only are they costly and expensive financially, but they cost a lot emotionally if it is a contested divorce. And oftentimes, not every party who is a party to the divorce wants to actually go through the divorce. And so that adds a little bit of extra salt to the wounds. Nevertheless, there are some takeaways from this, and there are some helpful hints in this video that I encourage you to review and to consider when you are served with the divorce papers or when you are considering filing for the divorce that might help mitigate some of the cost and the expense associated with your divorce. First and foremost, the more contested and protracted your case is, the more expensive your divorce is going to be. Let me put that a different way. If you two can reach an agreement, and if you can settle the case, amongst yourselves before you even contact an attorney, if you can settle the case at the mediation phase before it gets to the trial phase, then you are going to save a lot of money. So the longer your case lasts and the more contested and disagreeable the two of you are, the more expensive your divorce case is going to be. And to give you an idea of how expensive divorce can be, specifically we'll use the Chicagoland area as a model. On average, people who are going through a divorce who are not only dividing debts and assets of a modest estate, I don't mean millionaires, I'm talking about, average middle class income with average middle class assets, maybe one house and a timeshare, maybe a vehicle for him and a vehicle for her, a retirement account for him and a 401k for her. Those kinds of cases can still cost 5 figures. Easily, they can cost, $50,000. And the more contested the case is, especially if we start talking about custody or allocation of parental responsibilities issues, those kinds of cases, they can go into the 6 figures easily. And let me explain why. First of all, the one expense that a lot of people consider when they're talking about filing for a divorce is the cost of attorney's fees. Different firms bill different ways. And different types of attorneys bill in different ways. A good example of that is, for instance, criminal attorneys might bill by the court date. Personal injury attorneys don't charge you at all. They don't get paid unless you get paid. So when they get a settlement from a car accident, then they will take oftentimes a third of whatever settlement it is they were able to achieve on your behalf. Family law attorneys traditionally have billed with the initial retainer model. And so they will charge an advanced retainer. In the Chicagoland area, again, to expound upon that example, it's generally on average about $3,500 to $5,000. And that $3,500 to $5,000 is an initial payment that sits in the IOLTA account or the trust account. And from that trust account, they will then bill on your case by the hour. So think of that $5,000 sitting in this account, and as the attorney goes to court, sends emails, responds to phone calls from you, responds to phone calls from opposing counsel, drafts motions on your behalf, sends text messages back and forth with you. Every single bit of work that they do on your case, the money that's sitting in that client trust account or IOLTA account just gets reduced until most of the time it gets reduced down to 0, and then you have to replenish your retainer. Well, when you're dealing with attorneys who, again, in the Chicagoland area can bill anywhere from $300 to $500 an hour on average, you can easily see how $5,000 only covers 10 hours of their time, and the average case in Cook County could last, 18 months. It could last for 2 years or longer if it's a very, very contested matter. And so that 10 hours is not even going to be a drop in the bucket for the expense of the litigation as it pertains to attorney's fees. So I did another video, and I encourage you to take a look at it if you have not yet hired an attorney, to consider, some of the factors you should consider in making a decision about what law firm would be a good fit for you. And one of the things I said in that video, and I will reiterate it here, is you also need to make sure that you find a law firm that puts your best interest first. We are fiduciaries for our clients, and therefore your interests and your needs are supposed to come before ours. We should not be the only ones who are gaining from your demise and from your divorce. At a certain point, you don't have to go bankrupt. You do have to pay your attorney, and you have to honor the contract that you enter with your attorney, but you don't have to go bankrupt to have a good law firm standing by your side. By way of an example, a few years ago, my law firm actually switched our billing model on its head. We used to be, part of the old guard. We billed the same way everybody else did. My initial retainer for a basic average divorce was $3,500 for the most part. And I billed $375 an hour for regular court cases. And then if I had to go in on an emergency order of protection or an emergency, petition to return the children to the state of Illinois, those were billed at time and a half. I'm not that good at math, but that's $562.50 per hour that I was billing for those emergencies. So again, you can see how when you're billing that way, attorney's fees for our clients would go sky high very, very quickly. We stopped billing that way a few years ago, and we started doing flat monthly fees. And I would love to talk to you offline if you have any questions about that billing model, or you can, do a little research into it. But the fact is, the flat hourly or the flat monthly fees save our clients probably 70% of the litigation costs. Our clients, some of whom have come back again for subsequent matters and help with enforcing the court orders we got for them, who were under the old billing model and now are under the new billing model, are seeing significant savings because of the way that we bill now. But it's still not expensive. Divorce is going to cost. And attorney's fees is only one cost. The other costs, of course, are the filing fees. Those are pretty nominal when we're talking about, divorces that cost $50,000 or so. But there is a filing fee. You're going to have to pay the filing fee to the clerk. You're going to have to pay, the sheriff's office or a private process server to serve the documents, upon the respondent when you file your divorce case initially. In addition to that, if there's any kind of contested custody or allocation of parental responsibilities issues, you're also going to have to pay for mediation. Now, again, to use the Chicagoland area as an example, there is free mediation that is offered to people who, earn an income that is capped at a specific number. For anybody who doesn't qualify for the free mediation services that are offered in Chicago specifically, at a case that is associated with one of the, circuit courts in Chicago, well then those individuals are going to have to pay for private mediation. And if you have to pay for a private mediator, who are you paying? Well, oftentimes you're paying retired judges, or you're paying lawyers who are also mediators. If you have to pay an attorney to do any type of quasi-legal work, such as be a mediator, you're going to be paying attorney's fees. So what does that mean? Mediation is a confidential process where it's you and your soon-to-be ex sitting in a room with the mediator, hopefully to come up with an agreement. But that session could be, 3 hours long. It could be 2 to 3 hours, and you might meet 2 to 3 times. And when you're billing, or being billed rather, at the rate of $300 to $500 an hour, you can easily see how mediation could cost you a few $1,000s. The hope, of course, is that litigation stops right there, that you go to mediation and you reach a resolution. But what happens if you don't? Well, then you keep on going down the road towards trial. The next phase in the process would be the court might appoint what we call a forensic custody evaluation, or a forensic custody evaluator. Those are generally, psychiatrists or psychologists, but it can be any qualified mental health professional who aids the court in doing a thorough investigation and then giving a recommendation therapeutically about what is in the best interest of the child. So what should custody look like? who should the child live with, who should make major decisions, should they be shared decisions. And because you are asking for a mental health professional to come in and to do this thorough evaluation, I mean, those forensic reports can cost easily from average $5,000 to $20,000 per report. $5,000 to $20,000 per report, on top of your attorney's fees, on top of the filing fees, and on top of the mediation that you already paid for that did not work. So I don't say any of this to scare you. There are many law firms that, specialize in trying to settle cases and trying to resolve cases. There are many attorneys who pride themselves, as my firm does, just by way of example, of settling the majority of our cases. Over 95% of our cases settle, and we do that specifically because we continue to make sure that we put our clients' interest above our own financial gain. Divorce is hard enough. You don't need to have the extra added stress of it, spending your hard-earned money on the attorneys and on the third parties in your case, when you could be keeping that money for yourself to take care of you and your children in the future as you move on to the rest of your life. And so I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it sort of shed a light on why it is that some divorces can cost so much money. But the main takeaway that I hope that you receive from this video is that you are in total control of your case. If you and your soon-to-be ex have decided that you want to move forward amicably, respectfully, and in a way that maintains, the integrity of the estate that the two of you have grown together. And if it's not a custody or a divorce case, but it's simply a custody case, if you two have decided individually that despite the fact that you are going through a custody case or a child support case, you want to make sure that at the end of the day, the two of you save enough money to spend on your children and not spend all of your money on attorneys and attorneys' fees, then I strongly encourage you to review this video, take some notes on how you can shop around with attorneys, identify a firm that will respect that wish and respect that request from you, and then move forward accordingly. And I hope that this has been helpful.